The very first thing you need to understand when it comes to relationships, communication, and emotional investment is this: actions will always speak louder than words. It's easy for someone to say they care, to claim they're busy, or to promise that they value you. But what truly reveals the depth of their feelings is the effort they consistently put into showing it. This is especially true when it comes to something as simple yet telling as initiating communication. If she never calls or texts you first, that silence speaks volumes, even if she never admits it out loud. And here's the truth you need to face: people make time for what matters to them. If you matter to someone, even in the smallest way, they will show it through effort, no matter how hectic their schedule might be. When someone truly values you, they will want to reach out, to check in, to share their thoughts and experiences with you. Think about it for a moment. When you care about someone, don't you feel a natural urge to hear their voice, to know how their day went, or to simply say, "Hey, I was thinking about you"? That's not something that needs to be forced or reminded. It flows naturally. So if she isn't doing that, if she never takes the first step to call or text, it may be because that same natural urge isn't there for her. And while that realization can hurt, it's better to face it with clarity than to keep making excuses for someone's lack of effort. But here's where things get tricky. Not everyone is naturally expressive in the same way. Some people genuinely struggle with initiating conversations, either because they're shy, reserved, or unsure of where they stand with you. This is why it's important not to immediately assume the worst without first observing the bigger picture. Maybe she does appreciate you, maybe she does care, but for some reason she holds back. The only way to truly know is to step back and watch carefully, without overcompensating by always being the one to reach out. Give her the space to show you where you really stand in her life. When you stop filling the silence, you'll see whether she's willing to close the gap. It's natural to feel confused when you're the one always initiating, always reaching out, always giving, while she simply responds without taking initiative herself. It can create a subtle imbalance in the dynamic where you start to feel like you're chasing while she's pulling away. And the more you chase, the less she feels the need to invest because she already knows you'll be there no matter what. That's why recognizing her effort or lack thereof is so crucial. It's not about playing games or keeping score. It's about clarity and self-respect. If she values you, she will find a way to show it. If she doesn't, your silence will reveal the truth far more effectively than any confrontation could. Pay close attention to patterns, not just isolated moments. One missed call or a day without texting doesn't necessarily mean she's uninterested. Life gets busy, things happen, and sometimes people just need space. But if weeks go by and she never once initiates, if every conversation starts because you reached out first, then that's not a coincidence, that's a pattern. Patterns don't lie. They reveal what someone is truly willing to give. When you start to notice this lack of effort, resist the urge to confront her with anger or desperation. Instead, step back emotionally. Stop over-explaining your feelings. Stop sending message after message just to keep the connection alive. Give her the opportunity to take action, to demonstrate through her behavior how much you really matter to her. This shift in approach will do two things. It will protect your own emotional well-being, and it will bring the truth to the surface. If she cares, she will rise to meet you halfway. If she doesn't, her silence will confirm what words never could. When you find yourself in a situation where you are always the one reaching out, always the one putting in the effort, it's easy to slip into a mindset where you start questioning your worth. You might begin to wonder, am I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Why won't she make an effort for me the way I do for her? These thoughts can eat away at your confidence, making you feel powerless and undervalued. That's why it's so important to pause and remind yourself of one crucial truth. Your value does not depend on how someone else treats you. It comes from within, from knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. When someone never initiates contact, it's tempting to take it personally. But often, their lack of action says more about them than it does about you. Maybe they're not ready for a genuine connection. Maybe they're emotionally unavailable, or maybe they simply don't prioritize you the way you prioritize them. Whatever the reason may be, it's vital that you don't let their behavior dictate how you see yourself. You are still worthy of love, attention, and respect, even if they fail to see it. Remember, a diamond doesn't lose its value just because someone walks past it without noticing. It's still a diamond, and so are you. When you understand your own worth, you stop chasing after people who can't or won't meet you halfway. This doesn't mean you cut everyone off at the first sign of disinterest, but it does mean you set boundaries that protect your heart. You recognize that your time and energy are precious, and you refuse to keep pouring them into a situation that drains you. By doing this, you shift the focus away from needing validation and toward maintaining your self-respect. Think about it like this. Imagine you're constantly calling and texting her, trying to show her that you care. You're giving her everything, your attention, your time, your energy, while she gives very little in return. Over time, this imbalance creates an unhealthy dynamic where she begins to expect your effort without ever feeling the need to reciprocate. It's like watering a plant that never grows because the soil is bad. No matter how much water you pour, it won't bloom. In the same way, no matter how much effort you put into a one-sided relationship, it won't suddenly transform into something healthy unless the other person chooses to meet you halfway. Understanding your value also means refusing to beg for love, attention, or basic effort. You don't need to convince someone to like you or prove that you're worth their time. The right person will see your worth without needing endless reminders. They will naturally want to call, text, spend time with you, because that's what people do when they genuinely care. If you have to constantly remind someone to show up for you, their presence is not truly theirs. It's forced. And love, when forced, is never real. Here's something powerful to remember. When you stop over giving and start respecting yourself, you change the entire dynamic. Instead of anxiously waiting for her to call or text, you focus on yourself, your goals, your passions, your growth. You show her through your actions that you are not dependent on her for happiness. And in many cases, this shift will make her realize what she's been taking for granted. Sometimes when people see that you're willing to walk away, they suddenly start to step up. But even if she doesn't, you will still be okay, because your sense of worth isn't tied to her actions. It's rooted in who you are. When you truly internalize this, you stop feeling desperate for her attention. Instead, you approach the situation with clarity and strength. You understand that love and effort should never have to be begged for. If someone wants to be in your life, they will show up. And if they don't, you have the power to keep moving forward, knowing that you deserve so much more than one-sided love. When you are always the one reaching out first, always sending the good morning text, always checking in to see how she's doing, always calling to make sure she's okay, it can start to feel like a never-ending cycle of effort without reward. At first, it might seem harmless, maybe even romantic. You think to yourself, if I just keep showing her how much I care, eventually she'll appreciate it and start putting in the same effort. But over time, something inside you begins to shift. You start feeling drained, unappreciated, and even resentful. This is what happens when you invest emotionally in someone who isn't matching your energy. When you consistently give and give without receiving even the bare minimum in return, you're not just exhausting yourself, you're also creating a dynamic where she doesn't feel the need to invest. Why? Because you've already filled the space with your effort. She knows you'll text first. She knows you'll call. She knows you'll keep the connection alive, whether consciously or unconsciously. She becomes comfortable with this imbalance. In some cases, she may even start to take you for granted, assuming you'll always be there no matter what. This is how one-sided relationships form. Not because one person is bad, but because one person gives too much while the other gives too little. Over-investing emotionally often comes from a place of hope or fear. Hope that if you just try hard enough, she'll finally see your worth. Fear that if you stop trying, she'll disappear completely. Both of these feelings are deeply human, but they can trap you in a cycle that only hurts you in the end. You start to ignore the obvious signs, the unanswered texts, the delayed replies, the lack of effort because you don't want to face the truth. You tell yourself she's just busy, or maybe she's going through something right now. And while that might be true occasionally, when it becomes a constant pattern, it's no longer about her being busy, it's about her not prioritizing you. This is why it's so important to stop over-investing emotionally. It doesn't mean you stop caring or completely shut yourself off. It means you take a step back and allow her actions to speak louder than your imagination. If you keep doing all the work, you'll never see how much she's truly willing to give. By always initiating, you're essentially blocking her from showing you where her heart really is. Sometimes when you pull back, it creates space for the truth to come out. If she genuinely values you, she will feel your absence and take action to close the gap. If she doesn't, then her silence will speak volumes. Pulling back emotionally also protects you from burnout and disappointment. It's like holding a heavy weight for too long. Eventually, your arms give out. Relationships are supposed to be mutual. They should feel like a dance where both people take turns leading and following. When you're the only one moving, the dance stops being fun and starts being exhausting. By stepping back, you allow yourself to breathe and regain perspective. You start to see the relationship for what it truly is, not what you wish it could be. And here's the thing, when you stop over investing, you begin to reclaim your personal power. You're no longer anxiously waiting by the phone or constantly checking if she's online. Instead, you're focused on your own life, your own growth, and your own happiness. Ironically, this shift often changes the dynamic completely. When she sees that you're no longer chasing, she may suddenly start to put in more effort. Not because you manipulated her, but because she now feels the natural consequence of your absence. But even if she doesn't step up, you'll still be in a stronger place emotionally. Because by pulling back, you've sent a clear message to her and to yourself that you will not continue pouring energy into a bottomless cup. Love, effort, and connection should never be one-sided. If she truly cares, she will show you through her actions. And if she doesn't, then you've already taken the first step toward freeing yourself from a cycle that was only draining you. When you realize you've been the only one putting in effort, it's natural to feel frustrated, hurt, and even angry. You may want to confront her directly, to demand an explanation, or to tell her how much it bothers you that she never calls or texts first. But here's the truth. Coming at her with confrontation or desperation rarely brings the outcome you want. In many cases, it actually pushes her further away. When you lead with anger or hurt, it can feel like pressure to her, and instead of solving the problem, it creates distance. This is why the key to shifting the dynamic isn't through force, but through patience and subtle action. Shifting the dynamic begins with a mindset change. Instead of thinking, I need to make her see my worth, shift your focus to, I will show my worth through my actions, not my words. This means you stop trying to convince her that you matter and instead create space for her to realize it on her own. People value what they have to work for, not what's constantly handed to them without effort. Right now, if you're always the one initiating, she never has to wonder where she stands with you. She knows you'll call, she knows you'll text, And she knows you'll keep the connection alive no matter what she does. There's no challenge, no mystery, and therefore no urgency on her part to reciprocate. By patiently shifting your approach, you allow a natural balance to develop. The first step is to simply pause. Stop texting first every single time. Stop calling just to check in when you haven't heard from her. Don't announce it. Don't make a dramatic statement about it. Just quietly pull back and focus on your own life. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate her. It's about creating space for her to either step up or step away. If she genuinely cares, she will notice the shift and start putting in effort to bridge the gap. If she doesn't, her lack of response will reveal the truth without you having to say a word. Patience is critical here because the change won't happen overnight. If she's used to you always chasing, it might take her some time to even notice that you've stopped. Don't let that discourage you. The goal isn't to provoke a reaction immediately, but to reclaim your own sense of balance and control. During this time, resist the urge to check her social media constantly or overanalyze every little thing she does. That will only keep you emotionally hooked on her behavior. Instead, redirect that energy into yourself, your passions, your friendships, your goals. Show through your actions that your life is full and meaningful with or without her attention. Sometimes, when a woman sees that you're not dependent on her responses, her respect for you grows. She begins to view you differently, not as someone who will always be waiting around, but as someone who values himself enough to walk away if necessary. This subtle shift can completely change the dynamic of your interactions. Suddenly, she may feel motivated to initiate, to call or text first, because she doesn't want to lose your presence in her life. However, you must be prepared for both possibilities. She may step up and start putting in more effort, which can lead to a healthier, more balanced connection. Or she may do nothing at all, revealing that her interest was never as deep as you hoped. Either way, you win, because you now have clarity. By stepping back with patience, you allow her true intentions to surface naturally, and you protect your own heart from being endlessly drained. Remember, love should never feel like a one-person job. It takes two people investing, two people showing up. When you give her space to choose, you'll finally see whether she truly values what you bring to the table. When you've been giving so much of yourself to someone who doesn't seem to reciprocate, it's easy to fall into a cycle where your entire world begins to revolve around them. You catch yourself constantly checking your phone, wondering why she hasn't texted back yet. You overthink every interaction, analyzing her tone, her words, her silences, and without realizing it, you start to neglect the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. This is why, in moments like these, you must redirect your focus back to your growth, your goals, and your purpose. Because no matter how much you care about her, no one should ever become the center of your universe except you. Focusing on your own growth isn't about ignoring her or pretending you don't care. It's about reclaiming your power and your sense of self. When you invest in yourself, you shift the energy away from waiting on her actions and toward building a life that fulfills you, whether she's in it or not. The truth is, nothing is more attractive than someone who is grounded, driven, and passionate about their own life. When you prioritize your goals and your happiness, you naturally command more respect from her and from everyone around you. Think about it like this. If you're constantly reaching out to her, always trying to make plans, always seeking her attention, you're placing her in a position of power. She becomes the one who decides how you feel each day, simply based on whether she responds or not. That's an exhausting and unstable way to live. But when you shift your focus inward, you take back that power. You no longer wake up wondering if she'll call or text. Instead, you wake up thinking about the next step toward your dreams, the next project you want to tackle, the next version of yourself you're ready to create. This shift isn't just about mindset, it's about action. Start setting small, meaningful goals for yourself. They don't have to be massive at first. It could be something as simple as committing to a workout routine, learning a new skill, reading a book that inspires you, or dedicating time to a hobby you've neglected. Every time you achieve one of these small goals, you reinforce the belief that you are capable, independent, and strong. These little victories start to rebuild your confidence, brick by brick. When you immerse yourself in growth, you also create a natural balance in your relationships. Instead of sitting by the phone waiting for her to reach out, you'll be busy living your life. Ironically, this often has a powerful effect on how she sees you. When she notices that you're no longer constantly available, no longer pouring all your energy into chasing her, she may start to feel your absence. This isn't manipulation, it's simply a reflection of reality. People tend to value what isn't handed to them freely all the time. When she sees you thriving and focusing on yourself, she'll either rise to meet you or reveal that she was never truly invested in the first place. But the most important outcome isn't whether she steps up, it's how you evolve in the process. By channeling your energy into self-improvement, you ensure that no matter what happens, you come out stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. Relationships can enhance your life, but they should never define it. You are not just someone's option, someone's backup plan, or someone's temporary distraction. You are a whole, complete individual with dreams, talents, and purpose. So instead of chasing her attention, chase the best version of yourself. Become so focused on your growth that her lack of effort no longer feels like a loss because you're too busy winning in other areas of your life. When you live with passion and purpose, the right people will naturally be drawn to you. People who see your worth without you having to prove it. And that is far more powerful than any text or call could ever be. At the end of the day, no matter how many conversations you've had or how many excuses you've heard, actions will always reveal the truth. Words are easy. Anyone can say, "I care about you," or "I've just been really busy," but words without consistent action are empty. If she never calls or texts you first, if she never takes the initiative to reach out, then you have to start paying attention to what that behavior really means. Because while someone might be able to hide behind excuses for a little while, their patterns will eventually show you exactly where you stand in their life. When someone genuinely cares about you, they won't leave you guessing. They won't keep you in a state of constant uncertainty, wondering if they're thinking about you or if they even value the relationship. Instead, they will show up not perfectly, not every single time, but consistently enough that you feel secure in their presence. If you have to constantly chase her down for her attention, that's not love, that's not effort. That's you trying to fill in the gaps. For someone who isn't showing up on their own, here's the thing people make time for what matters to them. It doesn't matter how busy they are, how hectic their schedule might be, or how many other responsibilities they have. If you truly matter to her, she will find a way to reach out, even if it's just a quick message to say, "I miss you," or "thinking of you." Those little gestures take seconds, but they speak volumes. If she can spend hours scrolling through social media or chatting with friends, but can't spare a moment to call or text you first, that tells you everything you need to know. This is why you need to stop getting caught up in her words and start paying close attention to her patterns. Look at the bigger picture. Has she ever gone out of her way to initiate contact? Does she ever make plans with you without being prompted? Does she check in when you've been quiet, or does she only respond when you reach out first? These questions are uncomfortable, but they bring clarity. And clarity is what you need to move forward with strength and self-respect. It's easy to rationalize someone's lack of effort, especially when you have deep feelings for them. You might tell yourself, "She's just not good at expressing herself," or "maybe she's scared to get too close." While those things might be true in some cases, you cannot build a healthy, lasting connection on maybes and what ifs. At some point, you have to accept what's right in front of you. Her actions, or lack thereof, are the most honest form of communication you will ever get from her. When you start to focus on what she does rather than what she says, you begin to see the relationship for what it truly is, not what you wish it could be. This shift in perspective is powerful because it allows you to make decisions based on reality, not hope. If her consistent pattern shows disinterest or minimal effort, you have to respect yourself enough to respond accordingly. That might mean pulling back, setting boundaries, or even walking away entirely. It's not about punishing her. It's about protecting your own emotional well-being. And here's something important to remember. People often reveal their true feelings in silence. If you stop calling or texting and she never notices, never reaches out, that's a clear sign of where her heart truly is. It might hurt to face, but it's far better to live in truth than to keep holding on to illusions. Her actions are the answer you've been looking for all along. All you have to do is be willing to see them for what they are and have the courage to act on what you see.